I've got a story about this guitar. So this story goes back to October of 2019. My family and I were in Moldova. Our organization was having a men's retreat in London. And I had planned on going, got my plane ticket, all that lined up, ready to go. About 2 days before the retreat, I got a phone call asking if I would lead worship for the retreat. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. I would love to lead the music and do all of that. And they said, okay, just go ahead and bring your guitar. The airline we were going through was like a no-frills airline where you have to pay practically for the air you breathe. You'd have to pay for anything extra. And the person that was inviting me to lead worship said, hey, I'll pay for the extra baggage fee for your acoustic guitar. All right, so the day came, got to the airport, went to check in, and the airline said because I was only taking a backpack as my personal item, the acoustic guitar would actually count as my carry-on, and I didn't have to pay anything extra, which was awesome. So got on the plane, went to London, had a good retreat, led worship. It was great. So the retreat's over. We head back to the airport in London to head back to Moldova. Different story. They took one look at this guitar and said, hey, it's too big. It can't go on as a carry-on onto our aircraft. It is a pretty big guitar. And listen, like I said, I realized this is a big guitar. And so I'm like, well, what are we supposed to do about this? And they said, well, you're gonna have to pay for your guitar to go in the aircraft. Now, this is a nice guitar. I don't have a whole lot of nice things, but this is one of them. And it's a fairly expensive guitar, at least for me. And so I said, okay, what are our options? And she said, well, you can just pay it as extra baggage, and then it's gonna go below the aircraft where all of the luggage goes, not happening. Or you can buy a seat for your guitar. Buy a seat for my guitar. I love my guitar, but my guitar is not a person, and I checked it on the exact same aircraft just fine. I got on, I put it above in the cargo spot above the seats. No issues on the way to London, but now they're telling me I have to buy it a seat or check it. Okay, time out for a second. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Myers-Briggs personality test, but I had taken that a little bit before this trip. And on the personality test, I scored an ENFJ. Now, you can look that up. By the way, if you've never taken that test, I would really encourage you to do that. There's a lot of helpful information in learning what kind of personality you have. Now that J, depending on what you look up and where you look, it can stand for judging or justice, or that sense of like fairness and deciding how things should be. And well, on the ENFJ, the E and the N and the F, I was like just barely into that category, but the J, I was like way over J. Like 98% of the questions I answered, J. And that was coming out in this situation. You see, I had decided what was supposed to happen. I had decided that the airline was supposed to honor what they had done previously. I had decided that the airline would allow me to take the guitar onto the plane for free. I had already decided all of that. I had made the decision, this is what's supposed to happen. This is what's fair. This is the way things should be. It's not that this is the way I wanted it. In my personality, it was, this is the way it's supposed to be.
This is the way.
This is the way. This is the way.
Had nothing to do with what I wanted. It just, this is the answer. Let me tell you how to run your airline. That's what I was saying. And you see, that's a character flaw of mine. And I didn't realize it at the time, of course, but this was manifesting itself in a really big way in this moment. And I decide in the airport, with just 30 minutes before we need to board the aircraft, that I was going to make a stand. I was going to put my foot down and argue the airline on principle that if they let me take the guitar on the aircraft for free on the way to London, they should also do the same thing on the way back to Moldova. They weren't having any of it, and neither was I. And so a standoff of sorts began. A standoff over a guitar and buying a seat for this guitar on the aircraft. You see, that there are some things worth fighting for. And that was my problem. That still is my problem, is sometimes I don't realize what is worth fighting for and what's not worth fighting for. I mean, I do love this guitar, but I would never choose to buy it a seat. I'm not that in love with the guitar, okay? So finally, with about 10 minutes left before I needed to board the aircraft, I said, okay, fine, I'll pay the $200. So I bought the ticket. Then I had to run clear across the airport with this guitar and its case in hand and my backpack. And I'm running as fast as I can. And I make it there with minutes to spare, maybe 2 minutes. As I'm running up, the other guys that I was with are looking at me and laughing, and I'm sweating profusely. And I meet them in the line that's already moving, and they're maybe 10, 15 feet away from the door. And we were able to walk on the aircraft there. And I nearly missed my ride home, all because I wanted to win an argument with an airline about what I could do on their aircraft. Okay, so hold on here. I was editing this video and realized, wait a minute, I didn't tell the punchline of the story. So I get on the aircraft and the stewardess comes up to me and says, hey, can I take your guitar and stow it in the bin above? I go, no. I said, I had to pay $200 so that this guitar could have a seat. I'd like you to buckle it in. And so she did. You see, I had an expectation that when I got to the airport, they were going to treat me the exact same way as they did in Moldova. And they were going to allow me to take my guitar onto the plane. And when they said no and said I had to pay for it, I was like, no, that's wrong. And that caused me to react that way. That unmet expectation, that failed expectation, caused me to dig my heels in the ground and say no, and make a principled stand for something so trivial. And I think on some things, taking a principled stand and drawing the proverbial line in the sand, I think is important. But this was not one of those moments. I guess what I'm trying to say is the way that we respond to unmet expectations matters. The way we respond in moments when things don't go the way that we think that they should go, or when things don't go the way that we planned, that matters. And I think that unmet expectations can be a test of your character and how you respond in times of frustration, confusion, anger. It's going to show the kind of person that you really are. So what kind of person do you want to be in those moments of unmet expectations and frustration? Do you want to be the kind of person that when people see you, they need to walk on eggshells around you because, man, they one misstep, do one wrong thing and they're going to lose it? Or do you want to be the kind of person that when you walk into a room, people are encouraged, people are excited to see you, people know that, oh man, things are going to be okay because he or she is here? Well, now what? Well, I would say two things. One, go take the Myers-Briggs personality test and see what kind of personality you have. And two, think about a time in your life when things didn't go the way you thought that they should go. How did you respond? And how do you wish you would have responded? See you tomorrow.